Thank you. Madam Forlady, if you'll stand for me. Have you reached a verdict?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we have.
Is it unanimous?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, if you will pass it up to the clerk, who will pass it to me. And you may be seated. The defendant will rise. Madam Clerk, you may publish the verdict starting with the back, not with the, let's see, I'll tell you again. Starting with the back, flipping them over one by one. State of South Carolina versus.
Docket number 2022 GS 15-00592, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, in the Court of General Sessions in the term of 2022, July, the State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for murder, SC Code 16-3-0010, CDR Code 0116. Okay. Guilty verdict. Signed by the forelady, 3/2/23. Docket number 2022-GS-15-00593, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, in the Court of General Sessions, the July term of 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for murder, SC Code 16-3-0010, CDR Code 0116, verdict guilty, signed by the forelady, date 3/2/23. Docket number 2022-GS-15-00595, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, Court of General Sessions, July term 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, SC Code -16-23-0490, CDR Code 0549, verdict guilty, signed by the foreperson of the jury, date 3/2/23. Docket number 2022 GS-15-00594, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, Court of General Sessions, July term 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, SC Code 16-23-0490, CDR Code 0549, verdict guilty, signed by the foreperson of the jury, 3/2/23.
Thank you. Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is the verdict of each and every juror, please let it be known by raising your right hands. All right, thank you. Any individual polling requested?
We do, Your Honor.
Madam Clerk, you'll need to individually poll the jury according to their juror numbers.
Number 193. Was this your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 254,
Yes.
is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 326, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 530, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 544,
Yes.
was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 572, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 578, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 589, was this your verdict? Is it still your verdict? Juror 630, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 729, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 826, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 864, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Your Honor, the jury has been polled.
Thank you. The jury has been polled, and the verdict is a unanimous verdict. If you will bring the alternate juror out and have her have a seat in the audience, please. You can stand there or you can sit back there, whatever you prefer. Okay. Are there any post-trial motions?
None from the state, Your Honor.
We would just renew our previously argued motions for a directed verdict, and at this, on the grounds, on those grounds, we would make a motion for a mistrial and to set aside the verdict.
By the state, response.
Your Honor, based on our previous arguments, we would submit that the case properly went to the jury and the verdict is proper, and would rely on those arguments.
We've been here now 28 days, first few days of jury selection, and the remainder receiving testimony, an overwhelming amount of testimony and evidence that was presented to the jury for the jury's consideration. As I indicated to the jury during the jury charge, or the charge on the law, that this was a matter solely for the jury to determine. The court found at the end of the state's case that there's sufficient evidence to find the defendant guilty if the evidence was believed by the jury. Likewise, at the end of the defense's case, when the motion was renewed, the court found that the evidence was sufficient for the jury to find the defendant guilty. The jury has now considered the evidence for a significant period of time, and the evidence of guilt is overwhelming, and I deny the motion. Mr. Murdaugh, you now having been found guilty of 2 counts of murder involving your wife and your son, 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, the burden now comes upon the court to impose a sentence. Given the lateness of the hour and the victim's rights that must be taken into consideration and complied with under the Victim's Bill of Rights, and consider what I would anticipate to be a number of people who might have something to say regarding sentencing, we will defer sentencing to a later date. Of course, the minimum sentence for murder is 30 years. The maximum sentence is life imprisonment as to each count. And on the weapons charge, the sentence is up to 5 years or 5 years, which has to be concurrent if a life sentence is imposed. When would you all like to reconvene for sentencing? I would like to give everyone an adequate opportunity to prepare for it.
State will be ready at 9:30 in the morning, Your Honor.
We could do it at 9:30 tomorrow morning also.
All right. The defendant is remanded to the custody of the Colleton County Sheriff's Department. And he may be taken away. Madam Floor Lady and members of the jury, I want to thank you on behalf of the citizens of the state of South Carolina and your fellow citizens of Colleton County. You did not volunteer for this service. You were called upon by being summoned to appear, and Providence have brought you to this moment in time and these weeks in time. I know that all of you have been here at great sacrifice, particularly the juror whose job was on the line until a miracle happened, I guess, that allowed him to be able to leave rather than leave after 2 or 3 weeks. But I want to thank each one of you all individually and collectively. It's not often that you're called upon to sit in judgment of the actions of your fellow man, but you all responded and it gave due consideration to the evidence. I will make no comment now as to the extent or the overwhelming nature of the evidence, but certainly the verdict that you've reached is supported by the evidence, circumstantial evidence, direct evidence, all of the evidence pointed to only one conclusion. That's the conclusion that you all reached. So I applaud you all for, as a group and as a unit and individually, evaluating the evidence and coming to a proper conclusion as you saw the law, as you saw the facts. Now that you've served for the next year, you're not eligible to serve again. Now, of course, many people never get called upon, but you're not eligible for the next year, and for 2 additional years, you can be exempted from service because no person is required to serve on jury duty in this court more often than once every 3 years. Tomorrow morning at 9:30, we will reconvene for sentencing. You all have no role in that because that's solely up to the judge, to me. You're welcome to come back if you want to and be a part of the audience if you like. I also want to thank the alternate juror who was locked away in a room by herself for these hours, who who's hung in there during that period of time. I want to thank you as well. Madam Clerk, what do you have to tell your jurors?
Thank you for your service and what the judge said as well. And I think we can release them tonight and bring them back in the morning.
No, they're off jury duty. They can
off jury duty.
they can come
You
back
can come
if
back
they
if you
like,
would like.
and you don't have to if you don't want to. Typically, I've seen jurors wanting to see the end result of a case once they've invested a lot into it. It's really an amazing thing with juries. Quite often, at the start of the case, jurors are really like, whoa, why am I here? I wish I wasn't selected. But as time passes and the jurors become invested and really committed to the case and committed to seeing it through, and are very disappointed when they are not able to see it to a conclusion. And then along the way of serving, you end up finding out quite a bit about our judicial system and learning quite a bit, well, about human nature for sure, but also about the presentation of evidence and hearing from expert witnesses and really learning a lot of things that you'll be able to take with you when you leave jury duty. And to Madam Forelady, I don't know if you were hesitant initially or not, but you have stepped up to the plate and done a great job of leading the jury as well. And thank all of you. So the jury is dismissed. Now, one thing before you go, of course, we have invested a lot in maintaining the privacy of the jury, of each one of you. And you are free at this point to discuss the case with anyone. Given the high-profile nature of the case, I'm certain that the many people in the media will probably want to communicate with you, but they have no means of contacting you because under order that I issued, the identity of the jurors must be kept private. And if you decide that you want to speak with anyone, local, state, nationally, or internationally, that's your prerogative. However, should anyone harass you, please let me know and I will address those issues. If anyone through the somehow or another discover your identity and harass you, and rest assured I will intercede on your behalf. That having been said, you are free to communicate with whomever you might want to concerning the case from now on. And so with that, thank you, and you all are free to go.
Judge, if I could
Yes.
If I could have you go to the jury room, and I'm going to meet you back there for just a few minutes.
All right.
Gather your belongings.
And as is my practice, I'll speak with the foreperson before you leave the building after talking to them back there. Anything else? Be in recess till 9:30 tomorrow morning.